Alright, welcome to Slay The Spire. So, this is just going to be a gameplay introduction video. Tomorrow I'm actually going to talk about mostly how combining two genres in a very intuitive way basically yielded an entire subgenre. So, yeah, look forward to that tomorrow. But let's start with a fresh playthrough. And this is the one of two basic interfaces that the game uses. You start off in this dungeon, basically. It's a map of a dungeon. All the rooms are laid out very, very simply with symbols. Little skull, or the little caricature skull thing, is a basic fight. The horned demon is a boss fight. Campfires are a place to rest and upgrade your cards. The little money bag is a shop, and the question mark are optional events, or events where you get to basically choose your own adventure through a one-room situation. So let's go ahead. It's been a while since I started a new game. It's been a while since I really played, but let's go ahead and take a path that has couple of question marks, a couple of basic fights, and then a campfire and a boss battle after the campfire. So yeah, this is a pretty good path. Let's do that. I'll come to the shop later. Tutorial is very straightforward. Pause if you wanted to see those. So, hand, intention, discard, deck. Very straightforward. Anyone who's ever played a card game recognizes this instantly. Since he's buffing, we can just attack mindlessly and go on to the next turn. Now, it's worth noting, you discard your hand at the end of the turn, whether you use the cards or not. It's fairly common for deck builders to do that. The enemy now has a buff where they gain 3 strength, which increases damage. Can I actually click on that to see what strength does? No. Well, okay. Strength increases damage by whatever strength it is. So he's going to gain 3 damage per turn, basically. Which gives me the option right now of either blocking, using 10 block to stop any damage from being received, and only dealing 6 damage, or dealing more damage and potentially taking the 6 damage to negate damage further on. Basically, by killing him faster, you're negating any further damage you dealt. 2 vulnerable. So vulnerable is always 50% more damage received, but the number of stacks you give it is how many turns it lasts. So 2 vulnerable means for 2 turns they'll receive extra damage. And we're going to take advantage of that fully. Like I said, I'm going to take the 6 damage, specifically with the understanding that the longer I take to kill him, the more damage he'll deal each turn. Yeah, every time you run out of cards to draw, it shuffles your discard. Very standard deck building fare. I don't really know whether to address this as like a none of you have ever seen a deck builder before situation, or like a you're kind of vaguely aware of how deck builders work and how Slay The Spire in particular might work. Excuse me. But you can see at this point he's dealing 12 damage, but by killing him this turn, I have essentially prevented the 12 damage. And because of the Burning Blood, the starting relic for the warrior, I heal for 6 at the end of the fight anyway. So I'm back to 4. Excuse me. Every fight, whether it be a boss fight or a basic fight, you get rewards for having won. Some of it's gold, which you can use at a shop, and some of it is a card. And actually some events will also let you use gold. You can choose the card that you want to add to your deck, or you can skip taking a card. So, in a deck builder, whenever you're given the option to add cards to your deck, the 2 considerations, well I guess 3 considerations, but the 2 primary considerations are what does it add to the deck that you've built thus far, and the things that you've already chosen up to this point, and whether or not what it's adding is worth the bloat, or the excessive number of cards in your deck. Because if you have too many cards in your deck, especially if they do disparate things, you can result in a very bloated deck that doesn't do anything very well because you need to get to certain cards, and if you can't get to them because you have so many cards in your deck that don't help you do the things you need to do, you have a bloated deck, which results in a very ineffective deck. I feel like I think a lot of the card terminology and the entire idea of deck builders in general come primarily from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, with the rise of popularity of mini card games, and there are a lot. There was a BattleTech card game. There's a card game that was called Gates of Iberia? Whatever. Basically Conan and Company. Yes, there was a essentially Conan universe card game that also included some sci-fi setting stuff, and like it was interesting. Everyone, I'm sure, has heard of Magic the Gathering. Obviously has grown in more and more popularity over the years, and there were also there were a lot of like physical physical card games made with playing cards that were specific to that particular game. Pokemon has a card game, Digimon has a card game, etc., etc., etc. Deck builders were a genre of game that came from focusing on the aspect of those card games where you build the deck. So Magic the Gathering and other card games like it. Outside of a, quote, game, or a battle, or whatever the terminology is for that card game, before you even sit down to play against an opponent, there was an aspect of the card game called deck building, where you build the deck you intend to play. The concept of a deck builder game came about from people who enjoyed that more than the actual playing itself, and so they created a genre of game that literally was the focus was on building your deck, building the engine by which you achieve whatever your deck is trying to build as the gameplay itself. And as the game progressed, your deck became more and more developed. That tangent aside, let's pick a card real quick so I can continue playing as I talk. If the enemy has vulnerable, gain an energy, draw a card. Gain 2 strength at the end of the turn, lose 2 strength, which flex is really good for if you have a couple of really powerful cards that do damage multiple times, like Sword Boomerang, because the strength applies to every instance. So this would 2 strength would make this do 5 damage to a random enemy 3 times, which of course is plus 6 damage, whereas with this dropkick, flex would just add 2 damage. That said, I think I am going to go for dropkick, because we do have a card that creates vulnerable for 2 turns, and we only have 10 cards so far in the deck. So this is almost guaranteed to be available to play while the enemy is vulnerable, as long as we use the card that makes them vulnerable every single time it comes up. Now, as I was saying, the entire genre of deck builder is not new. It's been around for years. And the general idea, I think if I hit him, he curls up, but does actually... that was a mistake. That was actually a mistake. I forgot whether they stop their attack if you curl them up or not. And in fact, no, they very much do not stop their attack. I should have actually gone bash and then defend. That would have been the right play. But whatever, I'm not exactly trying to play well right now. I'm just trying to discuss the game. So, the deck builder, which is one of the 2 genres this game really combined. The idea is that the fun of the game, the game's core loop, is get parts of deck, improve deck, profit. So every time you're getting a card to add, and potions also, you have single-use potions, yep. But the single concept, the deck builder concept, is that no matter what you're doing, your goal, oh, actually this works. Apply vulnerable to everyone. That's another card that combos with, that's actually that's an epitome of the whole deck builder concept. You're picking cards as you play that synergize with other cards you've picked or started with. Now, there's a ton of deck builders that have come about in the last several years. And then ever since Slay the Spire, there have been more and more and more specifically inspired by Slay the Spire. And we'll get to that tomorrow as far as Slay the Spire basically defining a subgenre. But this is another one of the aspects of Slay the Spire, is these rooms with the question marks where you get to make a little choose-your-own-adventure situation. So we can just leave, or we can gain an unplayable card that gives us weak at the end of the turn if we don't somehow manage to discard it. Keynote there. But we get 175 gold, which more than doubles what we currently have. So, obviously, the more gold you already have, the less impactful that is. And then we'll drop in another, and just to give a view of how versatile they can be, actually perfect timing. So yeah, we just got rid of the curse that we got. So we got 175 gold for 2 rooms, basically. Not bad. Not bad at all. In any case, so as you play a deck builder, your deck gets more and more developed. It's actually very unfortunate that we have dropkick there, and it's not already vulnerable. So yeah, let's just gain 2 block and hit him. Yeah. So one of the key things that makes deck builders very approachable to even players that have never played or had never had interest in playing something like Magic the Gathering is that in concept, a deck builder is very easy to wrap your head around. Every turn, or most turns, you add cards to your deck. Some deck builders have more simple things to choose from, and others have more complex things to choose from. Regardless, it's a very simple trade-off. Okay, actually, hold on. So, 2 vulnerable, which means this will actually deal 9 damage, which means that's 17 damage. That will not be enough to kill. We don't have enough to block everything. So do we want to take 4 damage and just smack him once? Or do we want to take 9 damage and do 2 actual damage to his health and then apply 2 vulnerable? Then again, if he's not guarding next turn, 3 attacks in any combination will kill him. So I think we're actually better off not taking as much damage. That really does nothing because the block is going to go at the end of the turn anyway. But deck builder's pretty simple. You read what a card does, and it does the thing. So as long as the card isn't overly complex, as in do X damage. Power cards, yeah, passive abilities. So you play it once, it's removed from your deck for that battle, and it just does a thing. So I think I'm actually going to go with armaments. Just, it's a better block. And now we're going to upgrade a card. We could rest, but we only have 1 damage so far. So this is the campfire interface. You pick a card, and it shows you what you can upgrade it to. So this, upgrading armaments, makes it so that it upgrades every card in your hand for the rest of combat. And yeah, you can play this every time it's in your hand. So that's a quick way for us to get a nice little power spike. Every time we play it, it makes everything stronger. We could go question mark campfire treasure, but I think I want to show a boss fight. So some deck builders are much, much more complex than all the others. And that's exactly what happened. See, we upgraded all these cards for the rest of the game. Good times. So we're taking 12, we can drop one of these upgraded defends, and now we're blocking all the damage, and do 9 damage, sure. Cool. There are some games, like, again, Magic the Gathering, where some of the cards are incredibly complex, and used in conjunction with other complex cards can create interesting situations. Others, other cards in the same game. So Magic Gathering, for example, has some cards that do very complicated things. Others, like other cards in Magic the Gathering, are very simple. If you drop a, for example, 5/5 monster with no special text at all, you know that it can take 5 damage without dying, or before it dies, and it will do 5 damage when it hits something. Okay, cool. We're absolutely gonna... Ooh, actually, I don't think we need to play armaments. I think instead we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. We're gonna strike, and that's a kill. So, you can drop, in Magic, a 5/5 flyer, let's say. Actually, no, not even flying. This is base, simple, 5/5 monster. Does 5 damage when it hits something, takes 5 damage to kill. Very simple. Or, you could drop a 1/1 flyer with first strike that you can tap for 1 mana. Now, in different situations, each of them has varying degrees of usefulness. If you're just trying to block or attack, obviously the 1/1 with all the special fluff isn't generally as strong. But if you need that 1 extra mana to do a thing, or if you have an enemy attacking with something that only has 1 health, and you can use the first strike to kill it before it hits you, or if they have a flyer and that's the only flyer you have, you can't throw a 5/5 that's not flying in front of whatever that is flying. So, the different cards that are available to a player in a game like Magic can be very, various. Oh, jeez. I'm getting distracted. Let me try that again. Depending on the complexity of the cards you're playing with and picking and putting in your deck, you can have a very simple, straightforward series of turns where there's very little decision making to be made, i.e., you have direct damage, you deal direct damage, very simple, or you play this that combos into that, which allows you to do this, which combos into that, which lets you win the game. There's a wide variety of complexity when it comes to any particular card, and some sets in Magic are more complex than others. But at the base level, the idea of building a deck is very simple. You take cards you want to use, you put them together into a system that does things you want to do. And this enemy is one of the bosses. You can see he has a lot more health than a normal fight, and he is about to activate a special ability he has, which is the Enrage ability. Whenever you play a skill, he gains 2 strength, which goes back to the entire idea of, if I play a block, I don't even have a block right now, if I were to play a block, this character would gain 2 strength. So by playing a block to block 5 damage, I would then take an extra 2 attack for the rest of the battle. So, if this draws the attack that gives me an energy and lets me draw a card, that would be bad. So I'm actually just going to do a basic attack. But, yeah, so the actual engine you create in your deck, what your deck tries to do, it would not have been. Okay. So here I'm actually going to play Armaments. It gives him the extra 2 strength, but it upgrades the others. And this will allow us to do that, and do that, and do that. Alright. So he gained 2 strength for the rest of the battle, but it allowed us to do more damage more quickly. And as the warrior, we are going to heal 6 hit points at the end of every fight, so that's good. Okay, we're going to do that, and we're going to do that for the kill. Now, when you kill a boss, you get gold, and you get a trinket, or whatever it's called. Relic. And this one makes potions always appear in the combat rewards, which means we can start pounding potions every single fight, because we're always going to get one. And then we, once again, get the choice of choosing a card. Anger. Deal 6 damage, add a copy to your discard pile. Which basically is saying, yeah, go ahead and bloat my deck. I'm going to, just focus on using this spam to whatever. Deal damage to all enemies, or apply 1 weak to all enemies' exhaust. The nice thing about exhaust cards is you can use them when you need them, and then they no longer bloat your deck. But we are focusing on applying whatever that status effect is that makes them take more damage. So, deal 8 damage to all enemies combos well with the 4 damage and whatever to all vulnerable is what it's called. And we get a treasure chest, boom, or paint. Upon pickup, upgrade 2 random skills. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Those were the only skills we had in our deck that were not already upgraded. So, let's check out the shop interface, and I will probably end my little babbling introduction to Slay the Spire after I show the shop interface. So, purchase of cards, purchase of colorless cards, purchase of relics, purchase of potions, and remove cards. So, the card removal service can be used to remove bloat, which I think I'll demonstrate by removing one of these basic defends. So armament is basically a defend that's better, because it does other things. And there's an armament here for sale. And it's on sale, so we can pick that up to replace the block we just removed. So we just replaced a gain 5 block for a gain 5 block upgrade card. Pretty good. Relics, if your hit points is at or below 50%, heal 12. Interesting. Enemies with vulnerable take 75% more damage rather than 50%. That actually works really well with the deck we're building. And then upon pickup, ruse 5 random potions. Unless you have the ability to have more than 3 potions, that's kind of whatever. You pay 151 gold to maybe get up to 3. Yeah. So, with our gold spent, yeah. Hand of Greed would have actually been pretty good. Put vulnerable on somebody, get the 75% damage instead of 50%, and it's doing 35 damage. Pretty good. Pretty likely to kill. So that would have been a lot of gold income for moving forward. But yeah. So with the shop interface out of the way, just do one more of these adventure things, and it's a random battle, because sometimes the adventure things are a random battle. Gain 5 block, upgrade all cards, and bash. Now, here's another interesting thing about card games. Arguably, it would have been better for me to bash to give him vulnerable, then use dropkick to gain the energy and draw a card, then use armament to upgrade the pummel strike, and whatever card was drawn. But then dropkick and the other would not have been upgraded. So, every card game, whenever you're playing a turn, is just a series of decisions influenced by how you've built the deck. And the beauty of it is that it is very much a matter of... sure, yep. It is very much a matter of just making decisions based on whatever resources you have available, and the deck builders allow you to change what resources you have available over the course of the game. So it's very simple. Things do what they say they do. And yeah, that's why they're a very approachable genre of game. Now, if I hadn't played the block, I could have potentially just killed him there. I wasn't looking, I wasn't paying attention. It's fine. But the thing to take away from this is I haven't explicitly told you what I was going to do turn to turn, but I'm sure no matter how familiar or unfamiliar you are with this game, I'm sure every single one of you has been able to follow what's going on screen while I talked about other various things. That's part of what made this game so incredibly successful. It's easy to follow, it's easy to pick up, and it can really challenge you, but as you get better, it mitigates the situation. There's other things like multiple characters to play as, yada yada yada, that make it, deeper than just the base level card builder or deck builder. But the thing to remember is that this is more than just that's pretty cool. And you can actually look at your deck at any time. So strike, 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 strike. And then pommel strike has strike in the name. So right now it's getting bonuses from 6 cards. But if we then focus on picking up cards that say strike, then it gets better. So, yeah. Good times. In any case, so what genre was mixed with deck builder then? I mean, obviously it's a deck builder, and obviously you play the cards. Well, it's a deck building roguelike. What makes it a roguelike? This map is randomized. There are 2 further maps. If you beat the boss of this map, a new one is randomized and generated with a new randomized boss. And then once you beat that boss, a new map is generated with a new randomized boss. And that's a full run of Slay the Spire. You run through 3 maps, you beat the 3 bosses, you start another run. Or if you fail to beat one of the bosses, or you fail somewhere on the way to the boss, you start a new run. So it's a very simple concept that actually lends itself to a lot of depth and decision making. And those decisions carry on not in actual progress. Like, your deck gets reset every single time you start a new run. But your understanding of the game's mechanisms, your understanding of what the different cards do and what's available that you might find, can influence and change the way you play the game. Because somebody who's put hundreds of hours into Slay the Spire will have a very deep and an intuitive understanding of how the game plays. What cards are available, what decisions are best, what, etc., etc., etc. Whereas somebody who's brand new goes in not knowing what cards are there, not knowing what anything does until they see a card in front of them and go, oh, hey, that's cool. And you can literally be anywhere in between and find some level of enjoyment in a game that is this simple and straightforward, yet also offers so much depth throughout the entire process of getting better at the game, learning the game, developing, and beating more and more challenging bosses. And that's basically all you need as an introduction to Slay the Spire. Yeah, if you had never heard of it before and this is interesting to you, there will be a link in the description, because why not? But yeah, tomorrow we will discuss about the complex results of Slay the Spire coming out. A little bit more development of the entire deck builder, card building stuff that I already touched on, as well as mention and assessment of, various roguelike considerations, what roguelike really means now. And yeah, just general discussion of the massive, massive impact this relatively simple, easy to pick up game has had on the games industry, especially indie games. Because I'm fairly sure the vast majority of indie games the vast majority of games that were inspired by Slay the Spire, or rather followed its subgenre that was defined, have been indie games. However, next weekend I'm going to touch on and show a not so indie game that was very heavily inspired and influenced by Slay the Spire. So, you can go ahead and take guesses of what game I'm going to be covering next weekend, today and tomorrow. Toss them in the comments if you think you know, but yeah, I think that's a good place. I guess I could go to the boss just to show you a boss battle. So I could go this path. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go to the boss, fight the boss, maybe win, maybe lose, I don't know. I could go this path, but I only have 87 gold for this shop, and then some stuff happens and then I get in there. Or I can go this way, upgrade 2 cards, do 1 random event, and not fight a boss. The boss is going to give me a relic, but it's also potentially going to hurt me. I'm already at 58 health, and I don't have enough gold to really spend at the shop, so I'm going to come in here, I'm going to smith. No, not that one. And by smithing, so I think I'm just going to go with the other armaments. Because between those two upgraded armaments, I should be able, within the first turn or two of a battle, to have my entire deck upgraded. Which is pretty cool. Alright. Okay. I'm going to trade the 11 hit points for the 75 gold. I will trade my 11 hit points for the 75 gold, in part because there's this campfire here that's going to heal me for 30% of my max health. And as I just explained when I upgraded the second armaments, I don't really need to upgrade cards until my deck gets a lot more cards in it. And the two different battles would have been against different enemies, so I kind of regret not going for the other one because this is less great than I could have done. So, gonna take some damage from that, which is unfortunate. That's more damage. Do I actually need to armament? 8, 14, 20. I think I'm better off just doing that and dealing the damage, and then next turn finishing him off. I don't think there's a need for me to actually do any more upgrading, because most of the cards I'm going to draw, whatever. It's still enough. This card alone is enough. Whatever. But yeah, so that's just... Oh yeah, potions. This could potentially be problematic. I'm actually going to discard that and just go with the deal 10 damage. There are situations where playing the top 3 could actually mess me up a little bit. Whether it be because the enemy reacts to certain cards being played, or whether it be because my combo of dropping vulnerable and then, or upgrading cards, dropping vulnerable, and then dropping the ability that gives me energy back, or whatever stuff it is. And lose 2 hit points, deal 15 damage. Upgraded is lose 2 hit points, deal 20 damage. That's pretty good. What is this upgraded? Draw 2 cards, put a card on top of your deck. This is card management. This actually also combos pretty well with the armaments. And like I said, here I'm just going to rest. I do not need to upgrade a card since I already have the ability to upgrade all my cards. And let's fight this boss. So this is an example of a boss that actually would have been bad to randomly play cards against. If the top 3 cards of my deck got played and they attacked while he had thorns, I would have taken damage that I didn't need to take. So, I'm going to start off, drink this, so that I have the choice of card and then can upgrade it with armaments. Shuffle your discard into your draw pile, draw a card. Reduce the cost of all cards in your hand to 1 this turn, or gain 1 artifact exhaust. I'm going to do that, I guess. Then I'm going to play that to upgrade the cards in my hand. Do that. And just do damage, I guess. 1 vulnerable, and then the most damage possible. Sure. Alright. And I specifically used armaments before drawing the cards so that I could upgrade the card that lets me draw cards. Good times. Okay, so 7 damage puts him in defensive mode. I wonder if that's 7 damage including the damage he blocks. Well, it doesn't really... We did more than 7 damage past. The buff he's going to use is going to make me take damage every time I hurt him. Dealing 5 damage is not going to do anything because he has 20 block, and doing block is going to do nothing because he's not attacking, so I can just end my turn there. Alright. I'm actually curious. I've never had an explosive potion. This is when you play an attack, so if I throw that, I do not take damage. Cool. Sure. Again, armaments. I kind of don't want to hit him. But I have no idea how long this is going to last for. I'm going to do that. Hopefully get... Nope. That's so unfortunate. I was hoping to get another block to completely prevent the damage. I think I will put that back on top of my deck. And then just strike. Ah, I should have used the strike plus, man. I'm bad. Oh, it get... I'm bad and should feel bad. Alright, so... Armaments. Fly one vulnerable. Do that. And defend. I don't know if I'll be able to win. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But it is worth noting you heal back to full after beating a boss. So even if I survive with, you know... Yeah, go ahead and do that. Cool. So armaments here would block 5 damage and upgrade the strike and defend. I mean, if I do 40 damage, he'll transform. I should have saved those potions for this phase, this type of phase. So he's going to do 20 damage. I think I'll just... Actually, wait, he's vulnerable. So this is going to do... Yeah, that knocks him over. Cool. That actually was enough. Because our vulnerable does 75% instead of 50%. Not terrible. I think I'm actually going to go defend, and then take the thorns damage and still block all of his attack. Pretty good. Alright. So we have one block card, but I would definitely rather just take the damage. That's a 2 damage card. I was thinking, yeah, apply the vulnerable and then perfect the strike. Darn. Alright, well, whatever. Again, I'm not great at the game. It's been a long time since I actually played it, but I felt like it was very much a topic worth discussing and covering. It was very, very successful when it came out, for pretty obvious reasons. And yeah, just very much a game worth talking about. We are one shy of actually being able to finish that. It's whatever. Do your worst. Take 20 damage real quick. Alright. Deal damage. Go back to vulnerable. And finish him off. Alright, we beat the boss. And beating a boss gets you, as with every other fight, gold, dexterity, potion, or just... we get the potion guaranteed because of the White Beast statue. And then you get a yellow rarity card, a high value card. So this power, gain 2 vulnerable, so 2 turns worth of taking 50% more damage, but also gain an energy every turn for the rest of the game. Or for the rest of the battle. I'm pretty sure that's how that works anyway. And yeah, this makes, when you upgrade it, it's only 1 vulnerable. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. This, on the other hand, deal 4 damage to all enemies, heal hit points equals unblocked damage. That could potentially be used to heal up from normal fights. And then skills cost 0 whenever you play a skill exhausted. That's very situational, I think. I think if you're building a heavy attack deck where you just want all your skills out of your deck, that's the way to do it. But yeah, I think Berserk's fun. So, the final part about the boss is you get a boss relic. So, upon pickup, transform 3 cards, then upgrade them. Rather not. You can no longer see enemy intents, but you get 1 extra energy per turn. Or, at the start of your turn, draw 2 additional cards, and start at each combat confused, so every card has randomized cost. That's interesting. And fun. In any case, like I said, Act 2, it's just another randomized map. That's it. That's the entire game. Obviously, the depth and complexity and fun comes from all the different types of card combinations you can try, all the different, randomly generated bosses and relics and events, and the different characters you can play as. It has always been a compelling game, in part because it was crafted from such a simple premise, and every development decision that was made has added some degree of complexity. For example, the potions add a slight complexity of being able to use them in a fight to temporarily do a single thing. Relics adds power as you go. And everything was kind of inspired from either roguelikes or deck builders, and the combination was very, very successfully executed. So, join me tomorrow while I go into a more in-depth discussion of deck builders and roguelikes and how combining the two created such a treasure trove of game ideas that have come after. But yeah, for now, that was Slay the Spire. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, have a good one.